functioning, kind of. Alright. Going into this class, I had no idea what I wanted to do for this project. I knew I wanted to do a teaching project, but I had no clue how I would do it. And then I thought, why don't I incorporate one of the things I love most into this project, which of course is music. So that's what I did. Favorite music or songs associated with important personal events can trigger memory of lyrics and the experience connected to the music. This is a section I picked out from an article on musicandmemory.org. The article talks about how people with dementia are treated with music to help regain old memories they have by having the patients listen to songs that can relate to it or explain a personal event that they went through. It can possibly trigger something in their brain and help them remember an event. This graph is comparing cognitive processing while listening to two different types of music, or just in silence. As you can see, all of them have pretty high percentage in being correct with what they were doing, but the most accurate being classical music, which brings me to the Mozart effect. If brain activity can sound like music, might it be possible to begin to understand the neural activity by working in reverse and observing how the brain responds to music? Might patterns in music somehow stimulate the brain by activating similar firing patterns of nerve clusters? Being bored in Shaw's hypothesis, he began to do immense research with researchers Francis Rauscher and Catherine Kai to conduct the Mozart effect. They put 36 students in a series of 3 groups and offered the same exact pretest to each student. One group listened to Mozart, the second group listened to a relaxation tape, and the third group was subjected to 10 minutes in silence. All of the students were given the same test, which was meant to measure IQ. Their test was to take a look at a folded piece of paper and see if they could pick from 5 examples what the shape would be if it was to be unfolded. By the end, it showed people who listened to Mozart ended up having an 8 to 9 point increase in their IQ, rather than the 24 students who were tested, which finally brings me to my project. I got the pleasure of being in Miss Williamson's music room for a couple of months, sitting in her classroom and observing the day-to-day routine she does. My first day at Bow Elementary was definitely an interesting one. It started off with me introducing myself, you know, the usual, hi, I'm Brooke, I'm a senior at Bow High School. And once I said I was a senior from Bow High School, almost all the students' eyes popped out of their heads, really. I found out why that was after, though. Most of the students had siblings in high school. Some I did know and some I didn't know. For instance, one class I had Janie S.'s little brother, Shane. It was actually pretty cool to have him in the class, just to see how different they are from each other. In my opinion, Shane is basically a spitting image of Janie, yet they have kind of opposite personalities. Needless to say, it was awesome having some of my friends' siblings as students. My time in the music room with Miss Williamson was just like being back in the 4th grade. From watching the students warm up their voices to the song Dum Dum Dee Dee in the morning, to reading music and playing it on the recorder, you could definitely say I had a lot of deja vu moments. One in which was preparing for an assembly which they were singing in. And I actually have a video, so kind of ignore the poor quality because I don't know how to record videos for my life. You should just have to like scroll over it. The one on the right, yeah. Oh, good. Well, it was a picture of them, or a video of them singing the national anthem, because they actually had a assembly coming up, and I don't know if you guys remember when they were all marching into like, oh God, it's like it was a Thanksgiving one, but they were doing the national anthem with it. I don't know. They were all marching, and they were volunteering to like 3 people who could play the recorder very well, and they had some people volunteering to play the drums, and they were all wicked excited about that. But of course, I wasn't in Miss Williamson's class just to observe the students. I also had a purpose for being there. Throughout this whole project, I've had to do much research to see how music affected the memory of an individual. Most sources say how listening to music you like will enhance your memory and help you focus more on what you are doing. What I decided to do for my project was test to see if the students from both Miss Gage and Mrs. Hamer's class could remember certain images on note cards, and after I flipped them over, see if they remember where each one was. I performed that task on about 10 students, and for each of them I did it twice, one with music playing and one without. With not much surprise, my results came back like every other study done with the Mozart effect. Not one student took longer to find each card the second time around doing it, which was when there was music playing. 2 kids in particular actually performed this task in a whole minute less, and that's even after switching the card placement around a little bit. The student in this picture, her name is Aria. Aria was probably one of my favorite students that I had worked with. She was the most excited to work with me as well. After I explained what I would be doing, her eyes lit up, and she immediately asked me if she could start. I told her that she would have to look over the cards first, but as soon as she was confident that she knew where each one was, she could just go ahead and do it. Her first attempt, it took her about a minute and a half to figure out each of them. After switching them around and playing Mozart in the background, she had actually performed the task in under a minute. Her second attempt. She was lovely to work with, and I'm very grateful I had the opportunity to work with her. And of course, I wouldn't have had this opportunity to do this with the children, such as Aria, if it wasn't for Mrs. Williamson, allowing me in her classroom. She was unable to make it today due to having her own music room, but I thanked her for allowing me in the classroom, and even after senior seminar is over, I have plans to go back to do this activity with the kids that did not have the chance to do it themselves. Thank you for taking the time to come to watch my senior project, and I hope you learned a couple things about this presentation.
Good job, Brooke.
I wanted to puke the whole time.
It was good. It was good.